All right, my name is Paul Terry and I am the developer of the Angelite system. We are here today at the Fuel office in Manchester, New Hampshire, demonstrating the Angelite. Now, as you can see, we have a beautiful floral arrangement. This is something that you see throughout the country every weekend. Amazing florals left completely in the dark. It's kind of sad, isn't it? So what we've done with the Angelite is made the ability to light floral pieces such as this that are a targeted area, or if it's a food station, same idea. You're trying to light an area and not light the rest of the space around it, especially if you would have guests at this table. You wouldn't want to light this and light them, which is very uncomfortable to the eye. So the Angelite system is designed to actually highlight this and leave this alone, which we're going to demonstrate now. Let me tell you what you're looking at here as a reference, because I want to make sure you can get a scale in your mind. This particular piece is 24 inches in diameter. This table is smaller than a typical round. This is only 48 inch, typical round is 60 inch. Something like this is generally higher. Usually it would be up here above eye level, so when people are sitting, it's not in their way. Or, as you may see with a smaller piece after this, it usually is below eye level. But for this particular piece, I've lowered it so you can get a general understanding of how the fixture is highlighting it and what happens around it. Now, let me start by turning on the Angelite that is set to light it properly. All right. Now, in this case, this is highlighting it with the Angelite Zoom. The Angelite Zoom has the ability to adjust to the floral piece itself or the area that you're trying to light. Could be a podium as well. Now, this particular room is not that high. So just so you kind of understand our space, we're projecting light from our ceiling, and this is an 8-foot throw distance. Now, in a typical ballroom, you may have a distance anywhere between this 8 feet all the way out to 20, 30, and sometimes even 40 feet away. So the Angelite was designed to be a beam of 4 up to approximately 15 to 20 degrees of width with a incremental change. Now, I'll take a hold of the fixture here and just give you a general sense of this. You can see this in another video. The Angelite itself has a more detailed video, and you would see how this works. But you can actually click through the different settings, giving you a set beam width that you can repeat over a series of fixtures. So if you went into a space and you saw this and you said, okay, I have to hit this perfectly, you can simply take your fixture, adjust it to the size you want, holding it at the height of the arrangement, like right here, let's say, point it at the ceiling and get about the width that you want, knowing that once you install the system, it would actually project the beam size that you want. A couple of things will change that, obviously, if you're coming in from angles, or if you have varying distances you can connect the fixture at. So you have to use your judgment, but the ability to instantly adjust the beam width is very, very important to speed and how well you light an object such as a floral arrangement of this size. Now, in this case, this particular fixture, out of the 6 steps that you have available, was set to 4. This gives you probably in the range of about a 10, 12 degree beam. Not real wide, but nowhere near as narrow as it would be if it was much further away. So what I'm going to do is let me actually turn this fixture off, and I'm going to turn on a regular spot. Now what I mean by that is this is a 4 degree beam projected over 8 feet. Very, very narrow, as you can see. Now, if the floral arrangement was very small and it was very low to the surface of the table, this would cover that piece and it would look beautiful. But in this case, this is not covering it. So we have the ability to instantly adapt it, cover this. You can hit it from multiple angles and get total coverage. Now, I'm going to fade this back out, and we're going to turn the other fixture back on that has the correct beam size. Now you notice when we fade up or fade down, there's a 3-second fade time between any setting that you do. So whether you start at full intensity and then as the night progresses you fade down the room, you'll see that any setting from any other setting takes 3 seconds, whether it's from 0 to full or full down to 25%. So from anyone's point of view sitting at the table, it's a very smooth morphing and transition, even though all fixtures may not react at first because it's infrared control. As you walk through the room and you hold your button down on the remote, you will see that the room sort of morphs into that, because the fixtures that have come down to that intensity will not try to once again. So it'll be very smooth to the eye. So let's go back to this. A couple of things I want to point out. The Angelite optics was by far one of the more complicated things I had to figure out. We really wanted to take advantage of a single light, or a single LED in this case, focus it as well as we could, and not let anything bleed beyond that area. As you know, we have anything from let's call it a tablescape set up here. We have everything from plates to glassware and things that reflect light. So whether you miss your mark and go completely over and it hits this other person over here in the eyes, which is not pleasant, or it reflects off the table and blinds people, that has to be either a choice, whether you want to light the entire table and make those pieces glisten, or you're focused here and you're purposely trying to create what I call a high contrast scene where this is lit and nothing else is affected, especially the floor between the tables. That's critical to a high contrast look. The highest point on the table becomes more visible than anything else, and then everything else falls into the background, and all of a sudden you have layers of contrast and design within the room. That's what you're really looking for. So if you look at the surface of the table where light continues past this piece, you'll see that it fades out very quickly, and before you know it, it doesn't even get to the edge of the table. Now, your angles have a lot to do with this. In this particular space, we're coming down at it at a pretty good angle. It's not coming in real extreme, but that's optimal. So depending on your angle, depending on the size of your floral, and depending on how you're coming in, you can adjust the angle light very quickly, especially with our tool system where you can adjust the heads remotely from the ground. You can fine-tune this exactly. But the beam angle alone, where you can click through the steps, actually is allowing me, even in my own studio, to light this piece properly. Now, the edge is important to take a look at, because we're not only trying to control it and not waste any light beyond it, but this is what makes the light quite special. You can definitely create the looks you want and not affect the rest of the lighting in the room. So if you're uplighting, we have a little bit of light on the back. This layering is affected, meaning this isn't affecting what this wall is being lit like. So you have depth in the photography and videography, and even just the experience of sitting in the space. So this type of highlighting, focused highlighting, is very important when you finally get into the space and you sit there as a guest and you experience it. It's really amazing. Now, the fixture does have the ability to be tuned, and I'm going to show you some simple. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to come through on video. You know how video is with color. But I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to point the fixture right here. I'm going to zoom this back out. Oh, this is the steps, by the way. Let me just zoom this out like this. You can see how it's all done in very small increments for you. And it actually magnetically took my microphone almost right off my body. All right, so what we are looking at is what I call a color tuning pack. And I'm going to play with this for you. You can see how we're able to shift, because we're starting with a 2700 Kelvin LED, which is very neutral to the eye. It looks almost like a nice, warm, neutral white. You can tune it up or down. So with the Angelite zoom, you actually get a color tuning pack that allows for very minute shifts in hue. Now, depending on, again, how this looks on video, this is a very, very light green, which would look perfect on, like, let's say, a topiary kind of piece, green type trees. This is actually a light blue, which almost makes the fixture almost like it's a little bit more than white. It's right on the verge of a very, very light steel blue, which is beautiful. Then, of course, we have other things such as this lavender, which just makes it look pure white. Or you can go on the amber side and warm it up, and it's really beautiful. It's almost in the candlelight color, very incandescent-like. So we have a combination of colors here that allow you to tune the fixture to exactly what you're projecting it at. If you were let's say highlighting somebody at a podium, you might use a little bit of color correction just to warm them up a little bit. Just depends on the look you're going for. If you have floral arrangements, this is a very white piece. There's not a lot of depth within its color range. This particular color, which is the natural color of the Angelite, might be perfect, very incandescent-like, because it's 2700. But if she had a lot of pinks or a lot of blues, you may actually shift it to more white. And with the lavender correction, it would actually look pure white to the eye. Very creative, very designer-like. I really wanted to give you control over color and beam spread all in one time. Now, I want to talk about one other piece. The fixture, when you order it, actually comes with 2 diffusion lenses. This is a more stiff lens. You can actually see it pops in very, very easily. We actually have these tabs at the front. You can just snap it right in. There's a difference between beam spread and beam quality when it comes to the edge of the beam. Now, as I pointed out on the table, you are really looking to light this, and then you want the beam to end. This is called a fall off. We don't necessarily want it to continue. We just want it hit here, and that's it. But with other objects such as artwork or food stations, or if you're even closer than this 8 feet, and you really just need it to open up and soften out, that's where a diffusion lens comes in. And you can get it in 4 different beam spreads. So let me combine the 2. If you take a look at what's happening on the back wall, and I put this 10 degree in front of it, it's very obvious what it's doing. It's not only giving you a wider beam, but it's blending the beam, and it's creating a longer fall off at the edge. So what we wanted to do was, especially with the zoom, we re-engineered the way the head works. We re-engineered how the diffusion and color filters snap in very quickly and remove very quickly. And we included these with your fixture because we're really looking for designers to take advantage of this fine tuning that you can do. Other improvements to this particular fixture over the original Angelite, the optics, excuse me, not the optics, the electronics are flicker free. As you can see, the camera is not picking up any flicker. Flicker is typically quite annoying to a videographer more than people sitting at the table which do not pick up on it. Let me just bring this down really low for you. What we're trying to show you here, I just brought the fixture down to just 10%. I'm not sure, again, how bright this is looking in video, but at 10%, typically, the video camera would just be seeing this flicker all over the place. It'd be a mess. And you can take this scene, and if this was flickering times 20, 30 tables, and if you had multiple lights on each table, it would be a strobing happening within the space. And especially if you try to light somebody at a podium, even worse, right? You can imagine how bad this can get very quickly. So we converted all of our fixtures, all of our spotlights to flicker-free operation. So under any level of lighting, the dimming is smooth and the intensity, well, any intensity setting is to the camera rock solid. So this is a general overview, and I'm going to give you one last look. Let's turn off this fixture. This is, again, probably about a 10-degree close-range hit, lights the whole piece. This is what clients start with. Now, let me give you a tip. They go to the floral company, the florist, the designer. They go into a lit room. They get this made up, and it's in a lit space, and the client, the bride, the mom, the corporate client, whoever it is, says, "We love it." They rarely understand that this amazing piece is going to be left in the dark. This is what they can't envision. They can't envision how bright the walls can be, how nice the dance floor can look, how bright the band lighting is, how much the food stations are lit. And then all of a sudden, one of the more beautiful pieces, sometimes most expensive piece in the whole room, is actually left in the dark. So the Angelite system was designed to not only streamline your entire process as to how you include this into any space, but it's also to bring more quality light to an event that really requires it. This is screaming to be lit. This is, if it was a daytime wedding, that wouldn't be so bad, right? It stays visible all night. But in this case, being completely off, you can see how it becomes a silhouette, and all of a sudden everything else around it is the focal point, and what should be the focal point is left in the dark. So the Angelite system, sure, it's an amazing fixture. It totally streamlines your company. It changes your labor. It changes how you work with venues. But to the client, right down to the point at which you're trying to tell them they should have it, they need to see this picture. They need to understand the value it brings, and then the advantages of the system when it comes to your workflow and pricing and how you work with the venue and how this affected the photographer's pictures and the videographers, obviously their video, and also the experience of the client and the people sitting at the table. All of a sudden, it all comes together, all because we were able to make it one way that allowed you to utilize it different ways, and then the client can afford it. And then when they finally see it, they say, ah, we get it. It's supposed to be lit. That's why it's a centerpiece. It's supposed to be the centerpiece all night long, not just before the sunset. It's supposed to be all night. Now, your ability to dim it is critical. As you can see, cameras can blow out scenes. Sometimes it's too dark, sometimes it's too bright. So we made sure you can dim it. You have 5 different levels of dimming. So no matter what you're trying to light, whether it's white or a red bouquet or a food station, you can vary your intensity to get all of the different components in the room to balance. Your photographer will love that, by the way, when you work with them very closely. So this is a general overview of the Angelite system. If you want to see other videos that focus more on how to adjust it, how to install it and remove it, we definitely have those there now. We'd love to have you check those out. But this is the basis of why we designed the system. If you take this idea, you can start to expand upon it in a lot of different event spaces. There's a lot more to light from the ceiling down than you can ever imagine. In fact, if you talk with your client, I think you'll be surprised at how many things are being brought into a space for a wedding or an event, a gala, awards banquets, that are simply not lit properly that should be. And you will then understand the value of the Angelite system and all of its features and what I did to design it to make it easier for you to allow this to happen more often than not. So we hope you enjoy it. Thank you again for watching. So check it out. Any questions, if we can help you at all, give us a call or an email. We'd love to talk to you. Thank you.